I killed my husband's mistress with a single phone call, and the cops never even knocked on my door. It wasn't poison or a bullet, nothing that dramatic, just the truth, whispered into the right ear at the wrong time, unraveling her empire like a cheap sweater. By dawn, she was ruined. Her secrets splattered across every tabloid from New York to LA. And I sipped my coffee black, watching the world burn from my Brooklyn brownstone, wondering if revenge ever really ends or just circles back like a bad debt. My name is Brooklyn Hayes, no relation to the borough, though I've called it home for 15 years, ever since I clawed my way out of a Rust Belt trailer park in Ohio. Back then, I was 22, fresh off a community college associate's in accounting, with dreams bigger than my bank account. That's when I met Ethan at a rooftop bar in Williamsburg, all golden boy charm and Wall Street whispers. He was the son of old money, the kind that built half the skyline in Greenwich, Connecticut. His family, the Harrimans, owned shipping empires and summer estates that looked like they belonged in a Wes Anderson fever dream. I was the outsider, the tattooed girl with calluses from waitressing shifts, but Ethan saw me as his rebellion. We married in a courthouse ceremony 6 months later, tattoos and all, and I thought I'd hit the jackpot. The Harrimans tolerated me at first, like a stray cat you feed but never let inside. Victoria, Ethan's mother, was the queen bee, 62, Botox smooth, with a laugh like shattering crystal. She hosted fundraisers for senators and collected antique porcelain dolls that stared at you from glass cases. Richard, his father, was the silent enforcer, a retired admiral turned venture capitalist, his handshake firm enough to crush walnuts. They gifted us a starter home in Park Slope, but the strings attached were barbed wire. Family first, Victoria would coo over chamomile tea, her eyes appraising my thrift store dresses like I was a knockoff Rolex. Ethan climbed fast at his dad's firm, trading commodities while I balanced the books for a nonprofit in Bed-Stuy, helping single moms fight evictions. We were happy in that frantic millennial way: brunch dates, indie band tickets, weekend hikes upstate. But cracks formed early. Ethan started coming home late, smelling of bourbon and Chanel No. 5. I ignored it, buried myself in work, told myself it was stress. Then, 2 years in, I found the text. Not his phone, hers. A forgotten burner in the glove box of our Subaru, buzzing with heart emojis and hotel confirmations. Her name was Lila Voss. 35. Leggy blonde. VP at a rival hedge fund in Midtown. She wasn't just a fling, she was a calculated affair, the kind that doubled as a business merger. Ethan had been feeding her insider tips on Harriman shipments, cargo routes through the Panama Canal, undervalued real estate flips. In return, she greased deals that padded his bonuses. It wasn't love, it was leverage. And the worst part? I'd signed off on half those deals without knowing, forging signatures on proxy forms during one of his late nights. My name was on the paper trail, a ghost endorsement that could land me in federal prison if the SEC sniffed around. I confronted him that night in our kitchen, the burner clutched like a grenade. "This ends now," I said, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. Ethan crumpled, tears streaming, promising therapy, promising change. We went to couples counseling in a loft on Atlantic Avenue, the therapist droning about boundaries while I seethed inside. Lila vanished from the picture, or so he swore. I believed him, because I had to. Love's a hell of a drug, cheaper than therapy. But the Harrimans knew. Victoria cornered me at a family Easter brunch in their Greenwich manse. The dining room heavy with the scent of honey-glazed ham and unspoken accusations. "Darling," she purred, her manicured nails tapping my wrist like Morse code. "Ethan's always been impulsive. But family protects family. You understand, don't you?" Her eyes flicked to Richard, who nodded once, carving the roast with surgical precision. They covered it up, hired lawyers to scrub the digital footprints, paid off a mid-level SEC clerk with a consulting gig. My forged signatures? Buried under layers of NDAs and shell companies. I was clean on paper, but soiled in soul. I'd taken the fall for their golden boy, and they acted like it was a favor. Life limped on. We had a daughter, Amelia, born screaming into a Brooklyn blizzard 3 years later. She had Ethan's blue eyes and my stubborn chin, a tiny firecracker who collected fireflies in jars and demanded stories about the lady who outsmarted the dragons. I poured everything into her, into us, building a fragile peace. Ethan cut back on travel, started coaching her soccer team in Prospect Park. Victoria sent passive-aggressive care packages, organic onesies monogrammed with the Harriman crest, as if to remind me where the real power lay. Then, the diagnosis hit like a freight train. Stage 3 ovarian cancer. Caught late because I'd ignored the bloating, the fatigue, chalking it up to motherhood. Chemo started in the spring, turning my world into a carousel of nausea and 4 drips at Memorial Sloan Kettering. Ethan was there, holding my hand through the worst, but work pulled him away more than ever. "Big merger," he'd say, kissing my bald head before vanishing to the office. I trusted him. God, what a fool. Amelia stayed with the Harrimans during my long hauls, Victoria's idea, to give you space to heal. Their Greenwich estate became her second home, with pony rides and a chef who made pancakes shaped like unicorns. I was grateful, swallowing the bitterness when she'd come back chattering about Nana's secrets, vague kid stuff I dismissed as imagination. Discharge day. 6 months in. I came home early. The brownstones smelled wrong, stale takeout and something floral. Aggressive. Upstairs, the bedroom door ajar. And there they were, Ethan and Lila, tangled in our sheets like kudzu on a corpse. She laughed that throaty laugh I'd heard in voicemails, her hand tracing his chest. He didn't see me. I didn't scream. I backed out, silent as smoke, and drove to a motel in Queens, the chemo fog making everything feel like a bad dream. That night, I didn't cry. I planned. Revenge isn't a fire, it's a slow rust, eating from the inside out. First, I called my lawyer cousin in Cleveland, off the books. Cash app for discretion. We dug into the property deeds. The ones I'd signed blindly during our honeymoon phase. The Park Slope brownstone? Jointly owned. Sure. But with a quirk, Connecticut law, where the Harrimans had pushed the paperwork through their family attorney, required spousal consent for any transfer. And buried in the fine print, from a refinance I'd forgotten, was a clause tying it solely to my signature. Ethan's? Forged, just like mine had been for his sins. Irony's a bitch. But that was small potatoes. The real bomb was the secret I'd carried since the affair's cover-up. During those lawyer scrubs, I'd glimpsed a file, Richard Harriman's side hustle. Not just shipping, smuggling. Rare earth minerals from conflict zones, routed through dummy core to tech giants hungry for cheap batteries. Ethan's tips to Lila? They'd overlapped with those routes. nearly exposing the old man to indictments. I'd signed a waiver then, absolving the family in exchange for silence, thinking it protected Ethan. But it protected them all.
Me?
The patsy. The in-law shield. I spent a week in that motel, piecing it together on a legal pad. Amelia's crayon drawings taped to the wall like talismans. Victoria's calls went to voicemail, concerned, then frantic. "Where's my daughter-in-law? The poor lamb." Ethan texted apologies. Promises of divorce papers drawn up clean.
Clean.
As if. By week's end, I was back in Brooklyn, key turning smooth in the lock. The house was gutted, furniture gone, walls echoing. A note on the kitchen counter, for the best. "We'll handle Amelia until you're stable. Love. V." They'd changed the locks remotely. Some smart home bullshit Ethan installed last Christmas. But they forgot the deed. My signature. Indelible. I laughed then. A raw, ugly sound that scared the neighbor's dog. This wasn't just about a house. It was the opening salvo. The rain hammered Brooklyn like it had a grudge, turning the sidewalks into rivers of regret as I stood outside the brownstone, my duffel bag soaked through. A locksmith from Flatbush arrived in a rattling van. No questions asked for the cash I shoved in his grease-stained palm. New deadbolts gleamed under the street lamp, clicking into place with a finality that felt like flipping off the universe. Inside, the emptiness hit harder. Amelia's toys scattered like shrapnel. Ethan's cologne lingering in the air like a ghost fart. I poured a glass of the cheap Merlot we'd stashed for bad days and scrolled through my phone, compiling the list. Step 1. Reclaim what's mine. The lawyer cousin faxed over the quitclaim deed amendment by midnight. My e-signature notarized via app. By morning, it was filed with Kings County. The property snapped back to sole ownership, Brooklyn Hayes. Unencumbered. The Harriman's attorney got the courtesy call at 8 a.m. Sharp. His bluster crumbling when I quoted the clause verbatim. "You'll hear from my people," he sputtered. I hung up mid-sentence, already dialing the next number. Victoria answered on the third ring, her voice honey over gravel. "Brooklyn, darling, thank God. We've been worried sick. Come to Greenwich. We'll sort this nonsense." Nonsense. As if I'd misplaced a sock. "Sort this," I echoed, pacing the bare living room, floorboards creaking under my bare feet. "Like you sorted Ethan's affair? Or Richard's little import-export side gig?" Silence, thick as fog off the sound. Then, a hiss. "You wouldn't." "I would."
And did.
The smuggling thread wasn't buried deep. Public records. Shipping manifests cross-referenced with EPA violations on rare earth dust trails. A tip to a journalist at ProPublica. Anonymous. With just enough breadcrumbs to make it stick. By lunch, the story was live. Harriman Holdings implicated in conflict mineral scandal. Shares dipped 3%. Richard's name trending on X with Dirty Admiral hashtags from activists in Oakland to whistleblowers in D.C. Ethan showed up that evening, pounding on the new locks like a man possessed. "Let me in. Brooke, this is insane. You're destroying everything." I buzzed him through the intercom, watching from the window as he stormed up the stoop. "Ty Askew." Face flushed redder than a Mets pennant. He burst into the kitchen, where I'd set up camp on the island with my laptop and a pot of diner coffee. "What the hell? Dad's on the warpath. FBI questions already." "Good," I said, not looking up from the screen. A follow-up piece. Lila Voss. quoted as shocked, her firm stocks tanking in sympathy. He deserved it. You all did. Ethan's eyes darted, the old charm cracking. It was a mistake. Okay, Lila. She pressured me. And the minerals? Dad's desperate times, supply chain bullshit post-COVID. Excuses, layered like onion skin. I slid the divorce papers across the counter, tabbed for his signature.
Sign.
Or I go public with the forgeries. Yours on the brownstone deed. Mine on your trades. He signed, hands shaking, muttering about custody battles and alimony wars. But the kicker, Amelia. She's safe with us, he said, pleading. Victoria's enrolled her in that elite preschool in Darien. Elite. As if our public school in Bed-Stuy was a petri dish.
I didn't fight then.
Let him think he had the upper hand. The next weeks blurred into a fever dream of legal volleys and media shrapnel. Victoria unleashed her arsenal, character witnesses from country club luncheons, painting me as the unstable ex, chemo-addled and vengeful. Richard pulled strings at the Times, burying the smuggling deeper under, he said. She said hedges. Lila resurfaced, all contrite on CNBC, blaming rogue employees, while her Instagram glowed with Maldives getaways.
Ethan?
He flipped, filing for sole custody, claiming my erratic behavior endangered Amelia. Erratic. For taking back my home. I countered with a private eye, a grizzled ex-cop from the 73rd Precinct named Kowalski. He tailed them, snapping pics of Ethan and Lila at dive bars in Stanford, handsy over IPAs. Victoria, meanwhile, was a chameleon, sweet gran one day, ice queen the next, whispering to social workers about my neglect. Kowalski dug deeper, unearthing the real rot. Richard's not just smuggling minerals, he's laundering through art deals. Fake Picassos funneled via Lila's gallery connections in Soho. And Ethan? Knee-deep. Using our joint accounts to wire funds, money I'd scraped from nonprofit grants. The secret I'd buried? It wasn't just the waiver. During chemo, bedridden and desperate, I'd overheard Victoria on a call in the hospital lounge. The girl's cancer could be useful. Delay the divorce. Tie up loose ends. Useful. As if my ovaries were a bargaining chip. She'd pushed experimental trials, knowing the side effects would keep me sidelined, buying time for their empire shuffle. Betrayal doesn't get deeper than weaponizing your illness. I hit back surgical. An anonymous packet to Amelia's preschool, photos of Ethan's bar crawls, redacted bank statements showing diverted child support. The headmistress called Victoria that afternoon. Voice tight over speakerphone. I'd bugged the line. Legal in New York for one-party consent. Mrs. Harriman, we must discuss appropriateness. Victoria's screech could shatter eardrums. By evening, Amelia was back in Brooklyn, wide-eyed and clutching her unicorn backpack. Mommy, why's Nana mad? I hugged her close, the chemo scars aching. Because grown-ups forget who they hurt. But the antagonist in this farce was Victoria, master puppeteer, flipping scripts like a blackjack dealer. One call, she'd sob about family unity. The next, threatened to expose my Ohio past. A juvie stint for shoplifting diapers at 16. Water under the bridge, but dynamite in her hands. Controversial decisions? She leaked my medical records to the tabloids, anonymized but damning. Heiress's wife battles mental fog from treatment. Public sympathy swung. Stand with Ethan trended in Connecticut suburbs, while Brooklyn mom groups rallied for me with GoFundMe hauls. Tension coiled tight as a garrote. I worked remotely, auditing ledgers for a fintech startup. Numbers my armor. Amelia's bedtime stories turn darker, tales of clever foxes outwitting greedy wolves. Ethan sued for visitation. Lila lurked in depositions. Her testimony a knife twist. Brooklyn always knew. She enabled it.
Lies.
But slippery. The climax brewed in a mediation room downtown. All glass walls and stale donuts, where paths would collide. The mediation suite in One Penn Center smelled like overbrewed Keurig and desperation, the Hudson glittering mockingly through floor-to-ceiling windows. I sat at the oak table. Amelia's latest drawing, a stick-figure family with me as a superhero cape, tucked in my briefcase like a lucky charm. Across from me, Ethan fidgeted in a Brooks Brothers suit, Lila at his elbow in pencil skirt armor, her blonde bob a shield. Victoria and Richard flanked them, a united front of pearl clutches and stern brows. Our mediator, a no-nonsense mediator named Patel from the Bronx, adjusted her glasses. Let's keep it civil.
Folks.
Custody first.
Civil.
As if. Patel laid out the terms: joint physical, me primary during school weeks, Ethan weekends. But Victoria interrupted, voice slicing like a ginsu. Absolutely not. Brooklyn's condition makes her unreliable. Condition. The word hung, weaponized. Ethan nodded, avoiding my gaze. She's been erratic.
Patel.
The house thing? The leaks to the press. Lila chimed in. All faux concern. And those forgeries she mentioned? Sounds like paranoia. I leaned forward, palms flat on the table. The wood cool against my skin. Paranoia? Or payback for stealing my home while I was poisoning myself to stay alive? Gasps rippled. Richard's face purpled. Victoria's lips thinned to a razor line. Patel wrapped her pen. Evidence. Emis. Hayes. I slid over the packet. Kowalski's photos. Bank wires time-stamped to my chemo infusions. Victoria's hospital call transcript, recorded legally. Every syllable a nail. You used my cancer to stall the divorce. Delayed treatments to monitor progress. That's not protection, that's control. The room erupted. Ethan bolted up, chair scraping. This is bullshit. Brooke, you're twisting it. Lila's eyes widened, calculating her gallery ties to the laundering exposed in the addendum. Invoices for abstracts that matched mineral manifests. Richard growled. Retract it, or the FBI gets your Ohio file. Threats. Flipping like cards. Victoria, ever the schemer, switched tacks, tears, sudden and operatic. We're just trying to help. Ethan's father is ill, heart scare last month. Family sticks together.
Ill.
A new lie, or half-truth. Kowalski's last report mentioned clinic visits. But for what? Patel called recess, herding us to separate lounges. In the hall, Ethan cornered me, breath hot with mint gum. End this. For Amelia. I searched his eyes, once blue oceans, now murky shallows. You ended it when you crawled back to her. He grabbed my arm.
Bruising.
Lila's pregnant. 3 months. It's mine. The world tilted. Chemo nausea surging unbidden. Pregnant. The ultimate flip. His betrayal blooming into legacy. I wrenched free, storming to the ladies' room, splashing water on my face in the marble sink. Mirror Brooklyn stared back, hollow-cheeked.
Fierce.
This was the moment. Divide or conquer. Back in the suite, I dropped the bomb.
Fine.
Custody to you.
Ethan.
But the brownstone stays mine. And I walk with half the accounts untouched. Murmurs. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Trap? And I smiled. Slow as venom. Richard confesses. On record. To Patel here. The smuggling. The laundering. Immunity for Ethan and Lila. But you take the fall. Chaos. Richard lunged. Patel between us like a referee. You crazy bitch, he roared. Veins bulging. Victoria wailed. Blackmail. But Ethan froze. Torn. Father or freedom. Lila whispered urgently. Her hand on her belly. The controversial pivot. Protect the unborn at any cost. Decisions hung. Air thick with sweat and spite. No one's hands clean, me. Wielding illness like a club, them. Building empires on graves. Patel reconvened. Voice steel. Proposal noted. Counter. Richard. Cornered. Bartered. Partial confession. Fines only. No jail. I pushed. Full exposure. Plea deal. Hours bled. Coffee cold. At dusk. Handshake shaky. Venomous. Richard signed a proffer letter. Smuggling threads unraveled for prosecutors. In exchange, my silence on Lila's pregnancy. Custody split 60-40 my favor. Victoria's final flip. A grandmother's clause. Weekends with Amelia. No strings.
Or so she said.
We scattered into the night. Manhattan's lights a blur. I hailed a cab to Brooklyn. Amelia waiting with a sitter. Her hug the only anchor. But the tension didn't snap. It stretched. Yet taut as piano wire. Days later, a package arrived, no sender. Victoria's handwriting on the card. For old times. Inside. A porcelain doll. Antique. Eyes glassy and accusatory. Tucked in its lace dress, a USB drive. I plugged it in. Heart hammering. Files upon files, my juvie record. Sure. But worse, chemo trial docs. Altered to show non-compliance, dates fudged to paint me negligent. And audio. Victoria coaching Ethan on custody lies. Lila giggling about the Brooklyn bump as a leverage play. The real secret? Richard's heart scare? Fabricated. A ploy to guilt me. But the drive revealed intercepts. Text to a fixer in Jersey. Arranging accidents for whistleblowers. One name, Kowalski's old partner. Silenced 2 years back in a carjacking. My revenge climaxed, not in court, but code. I forwarded the drive to ProPublica, curated, redacted for Amelia's sake. By morning, headlines screamed, Harriman scandal deepens, cover-up allegations. Stocks cratered 12%. Richard's proffer leaked. Lila's firm distancing with the presser. Ethan called. Voice broken. You're killing us.
Us.
As if. But the divide cracked me open. Amelia asked why Daddy cried on FaceTime, her small world fracturing. Was I hero or villain? The readers, hell. The world, would pick sides, cheer the underdog clawing back. Or condemn the scorched earth. Victoria's countermove landed that afternoon, a lawsuit. Defamation. Claiming the drive was forged. My lawyer. Fight or fold.
Fight.
Always. Nights blurred. Brooklyn's summer humidity pressing, like a wet rag. I walked the promenade at dusk. East River churning black. Plotting the endgame. The antagonist's final flip loomed, Victoria. Summoning me to Greenwich under truce flag. One last talk, her email read. For the girl. Amelia. The hook. The Harriman estate loomed like a Gothic relic against the twilight sky. Ivy-cloaked stone walls whispering of old sins. I parked the Subaru at the end of the oyster shell drive, gravel crunching under tires like brittle bones. Victoria waited on the veranda, a silhouette in cashmere, highball glass sweating in her hand.
No, Ethan.
No Richard, just her. The spider in the web. Brooklyn, she greeted, air-kissing cheeks with the warmth of dry ice. Come in. Scotch. The drawing room was museum stiff, Persian rugs muffling steps, crystal decanters glinting like teeth. She poured neat, handing me a tumbler, her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scanning for weakness. We settled into wingbacks by the fireplace, logs crackling false cheer. You've won, she said. No preamble. The feds have Richard in a plea dance, 5 years. Probation if he's lucky. Ethan's out. Lila's. Nesting quietly.
Nesting.
The word curdled my scotch. I sipped, the burn steadying. 1. Amelia cries herself to sleep. Victoria. That's your legacy. Her laugh tinkled. Genuine this time, bitter.
Broken.
Legacy? Darling. You think this is about dolls and pony rides? It's survival. The Harrimans built empires on worse than minerals. Your little crusade? It's cute, but it'll eat you alive. Then the twist. Uncoiling slow. She slid a folder across the side table. Leather embossed with the family crest. Read. Pages thick. Medical reports. Not mine. Ethan's. Leukemia. Early stage. Diagnosed months back. The heart scare? Misdirection. Chemo slated for fall. At the same Sloan Kettering where I'd withered. And the kicker. He'd known during mediation. Used it, silently, to justify the custody grab, painting me the unstable one while hiding his own fragility. My glass slipped, amber pooling on the rug like blood money. Why tell me? Victoria's face softened, or cracked, hard to say. Because your family,
Still.
or were. Ethan flipped on us. You know. Gave the feds the laundering codes to save his skin. Lila's pregnancy? Leverage he dangled for immunity. We're all monsters here. Flip after flip, Ethan. The charmer turned rat. Lila. Mistress to mother-to-be. Her decisions a Rorschach of self-preservation. The room spun. Not from scotch, but revelation. I'd avenged the wrong betrayal. Or maybe the right one in the wrong way. The secret I'd gunned for? It was a red herring. The real crime was our collective silence. The mistakes we'd all shouldered, me for forgeries, Ethan for secrets, Victoria for cover-ups. No heroes. Just survivors clawing through the American dream's underbelly, where property deeds and DNA tests decide fates. I stood, folder clutched like a grenade. What now? She rose too, closer than comfort allowed. Perfume cloying, jasmine and regret. Your call. Expose him. And Amelia loses both parents to the headlines. Walk away. And we co-parent in the ruins. Controversial, isn't it? Mercy as the ultimate revenge.
Outside.
Fireflies danced in the manicured lawn, mocking the dark. I drove back to Brooklyn under stars smudged by light pollution. Radio droning Springsteen, Born to Run. Ironic anthem for the trapped. Amelia slept curled on the couch, thumb in mouth, dreaming innocent. I kissed her forehead, The weight settling. And happy. With fragile peace? Or tragic? Torching the bridges for scorched truth? Dawn broke gray. Coffee brewing as I drafted the email to ProPublica. CC'd to Ethan. Not the full folder, excerpts. Anonymized. Enough to humanize the fall. Spark debates in comment sections from Reddit to cable news. Was Brooklyn the Avenger or the Destroyer? Did family forgive? Or fracture clean? I hit send. The whoosh final as a guillotine. Ethan arrived at noon. Gaunt in the doorway. Amelia peeking from stairs. You knew, he whispered. I nodded, handing him the custody amendment. Unconditional. His weekends etched in ink. For her. Lila waited in the car. Bump visible now. A living question mark. Victoria's truce held. Richard's plea went quiet. A footnote in the Times. Months later. Autumn leaves choked the gutters as Amelia and I raked the yard. Ethan joining awkward. Gloves muddy. Lila hovered at barbecues. Her bump a boy named after no one. Victoria sent checks. No notes, silence her new flip. The brownstone stood firm. Locks ours. Deed ironclad. But nights. I woke to ghosts, the cancer's echo. The smuggling stain. The what-ifs. Revenge ended not in triumph, but truce, a controversial piece, where right and wrong blurred like city fog. Readers argued in bars and feeds, heroic stand, or petty war. I didn't care. Amelia laughed. Chasing leaves. And that was signature enough. Unerasable.